Husk isn't even here. Usually when this happens,
Second attempt, people.
Oh, God.
What the fuck?
We've all seen it. The hatred, the ugliness, the crying, and the downright disgracefulness. That is fanboyism. You may be wondering, how can I help these misguided manginas? Well, we're proud to announce that through supporting your local F&P and through F&P merchandise purchases, an undisclosed percentage of the proceeds will help fund the castration and spading of these feral beasts. But you must hurry, because left unchecked, the situation will only worsen. So please, help us in raising awareness on this unprecedented and increasingly annoying, ignorant, and childish behavior by visiting the link below, before it's too late.
And welcome to Midweek Gaming, the second attempt. Because I just did all that, and then the panel went to me, "You do know you're not live, don't you?" I forgot to press the button. And I got permission to use that video off the GBTB crew and Husk and wilmyhood, because that basically sums up what's going on Twitter and stuff at the minute with all the fanboy crap. It's a funny little video. It is anyway, but it's the first anniversary of Midweek Gaming, with 1 year since it's been going. The first show was the PlayStation show showcase in 2020. Now that was a reaction show, but that's what we regarded as the first episode of Midweek Gaming. So that would have been technically next week. That would have been, but the dates line up for a year. It does, because they'd done the PlayStation show early this year. Last year it was a week late. It was. So, but yes, we are live for the first anniversary. And we have got special guest Mass Mayhem, and he does an excellent podcast called LOD Perspective, where he talks
when
about
we can get
gaming.
into it.
Yep, gaming and great well. Do you want to sell the podcast to people? Explain what kind of show it is. It's quite a funny show.
Yeah. So, I mean, the premise of it was supposed to be that we would just do it. It was a gaming podcast, but with real life kind of thrown in. So we don't take it seriously at all. We waffle most of the time. We go off on a tangent, and usually with Lewis, it ends up he says something stupid, and we rip it out of him for an hour. And we've come up with little things, and obviously your soundbite is still there. We still use that from the beginning. So I'm one of the clever people, is where people can send us messages and questions, and we'll answer them. And Lewis does now lose news. So yeah, it's kind of it's morphing into this just a general chit chat with gaming thrown in, and we try and bring up like what we've seen and what's going on without it being too topical, if that makes sense. And it ends up being a laugh.
It's definitely a good show, because on Fridays I quite often go around doing the jobs myself and have it on through the van. You know, you plug your phone in, listen to Spotify, and Lewis quite often has me in stitches.
Yes. Sometimes he doesn't even realise what he's saying, and we have to point it out. I love getting the.
Like sometimes you have to like do it 10, 15 times, and he still doesn't get what you're on about.
No.
Even if you explain it, But
The best ones are the innuendos that he really doesn't get, and he says them himself.
Yeah, he's a good lad.
He never likes balls in his face, that type of thing.
Yeah, that one he really didn't get that, and I couldn't believe that.
He did like hard things in his face in COD.
Yeah. But no, but yes, one thing, if you don't know, Mass Mayhem has always, since I ever started podcasting, Mayhem's always helped me out, and he's even got me the blue snowball. And when my computer completely smashed up, he had a spare computer and he sent me it. And I can't thank you enough for what you've done for me, Mass Mayhem, because you originally head of bg4ghub.com, weren't you? Originally, that's how we first met, I think.
Yeah, I started BG4G Hub, and I'm still technically a founder, but I've kind of stepped away from it to let Games of Dane take it to the next level.
Yeah,
but thanks for having me on. This is like the first proper podcast I've been on in a while.
I think the last one was probably Dazcast, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think Dazcast was the last one I was on.
Sadly, rest in peace. No more Dazcast. He's not doing them anymore. That's it. Gone.
No, we've kind of done the same thing. Just concentrating on streaming at the moment, I think.
Yeah, it's all good. It is. So, anyway, VJ, are you there, sir?
No.
Yes, I am. I'm here.
How are you doing, VJ?
Not too bad, thank you very much. Thanks for having me back on the show again.
Good to hear. You been busy playing many games?
Just Narita Boy. I've been enjoying that game for some reason. It's really good.
That's good. I've not actually tried that game. I haven't.
Why is nobody on the panel or the chat surprised?
I'm not. I'm not.
No one's surprised.
Look, the last session of Gears is going to keep him busy. We all know this.
Is my audio low? Because Muppet's telling me that my audio is quite low compared to everyone else's.
You sound fine in my ears, but it's up to the chat, really. Yeah.
I'll turn it up if I'm too low, but yes, no one should be surprised. Another game I haven't completed or played. How are we doing, Animated Evil?
Yes, hello. Thank you for having me on again. It's all good. Happy. So good to see some familiar faces, as usual. And welcome, Masked Mayhem. I think this is the first time... Is it the first time we've been on one together? I can't... Possibly. I do so many. I
Maybe long time ago, I think we were on one together, but it was...
Quite possibly. I do so many with so many people. I can't remember. That's my bad. That's my bad. I do apologise.
It's good to be on the panel with you, though.
Yeah, cool, dude. Cool.
Yeah.
I'm obviously representing the only one on camera tonight, so there we go.
I'll join you in the green screen.
Unfortunately, chat, you've only got my beautiful face to look at.
Not anymore.
Use beautiful loosely used. There you go. He's repping. See, now I just look terrible. I look homeless. Hence the tent.
Well, it looks like they're both in the same tent.
We're opposite each other.
Room,
we're just
really.
we're in the same. Yeah.
There we go. They're next to each other now.
Power
There you go.
Power
There you
couple.
go.
That's what it is. It's a power couple.
I'm
Have you
back.
had a chance
Power to the green screen.
Power to the green
Yeah,
screen.
absolutely.
Have you had a chance to play many games? You do community game
this-
night, don't you?
This week, personally, other than community game night, not really. I've had a really busy week. I spent some time on Marvel Avengers on Monday, which I streamed. I'm going to make Mondays, I think, Marvel Monday when I'm streaming, I think, because it's so much fun. Flamish helped me out a lot on that on Monday, so he's explained quite a little bit to me. I'm new to the game, But other than that, not really this week. I've had a very difficult week. I mean, I walked in the house today at 9:32, I think.
Wow.
And I was on here by 10 to 10, so it's been my week thus far.
Fair enough, fair enough. And Cerebral Paul, are you there at the minute?
Yes, I'm back.
How are you, mate? You doing good?
I'm doing okay. Just been
Good to hear.
been a little under the weather, so I've been kind of keeping to myself all week. Not playing online very much, and but still playing and watching and chatting and whatever. Because if I'm not on camera, nobody notices when I disappear in a hurry. So
That's true. That's true. Hopefully you're feeling better soon.
I hope so too.
Because you're the man on this podcast who's on nearly a podcast every day, aren't you? You're on loads of podcasts now.
Yeah, I think I'm up to five a week once everything's up and rolling. Yeah.
Wow.
5. Wow.
Well, does that include community game night? Because that would technically
No,
be
that
6.
doesn't include community game night. Community game night puts me up to 6 officially. 7 if you count the fact that I go to Friday night and Saturday night, even though I don't host Friday night.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. The main man. Well, what did I ask? Well, have you been playing many games? It's a stupid question with you, that is. Saying that though, if you're not feeling too good, I bet you haven't been playing as much, have you?
Oh, well, like this week I've been playing a lot of Sniper Elite 4, but yeah, not much else.
Oh, fair enough.
Something
Okay.
There's something therapeutic about shooting people in the testicles. It just
I.e., one of
is
the panel
very true.
members is in his mind as he shoots it.
yeah.
But which one?
Yeah. That changes.
Which one,
week to
indeed?
week.
And welcome back to Removable Sanity. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm a bit similar to Animated myself. Yeah, I only just finished work about 10 minutes ago as well. So yeah, it's a nice 10-hour day. Done.
Only 10.
But yeah, I've been doing well. Well, yeah, it's 10 today, and that's probably an early day. So yeah, I'm doing well, I think. But yeah, doing rather well. It's glad to be back on here. Great to see MaskedMay. Hey, great to see everybody. To be honest with you, it's I have missed you guys, and it's obviously nice to be even welcome. Hear my voice and allowed me to chat again. Thank you very much. It's gone quiet, Stubbs. Come on, chop chop.
Yeah, it's nice to hear your
come on,
voice.
Stubbs,
Don't
come
you
off
hear your
mute now.
voice all the time. Yeah.
It is. Yeah, I have missed you, Cerebral. But I see you online, so I can wave at you from across the pond in Twitter.
Husk is here.
Hey,
Husk
Husk
is
here.
sober.
Who the fuck is that guy? What's up?
Not much. So
Got the supplies, Husk?
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Couple
he's
of 'em.
He's already starting for his show. He's already
yeah.
starting for his show later.
Normally I wouldn't start for another 2 hours, so I had to be nice and toasty rolling into our show tonight.
There you go.
Very good.
Good news is I'll be sitting on a lawnmower all day at work tomorrow, so I'll just sweat it all out sitting on my ass.
I figure by the end of your show, you're gonna look like Homer Simpson when he's sitting in his chair drooling at work.
See, when you're on this lawnmower tomorrow and you're a little bit worse for wear, are you going to be able to cut it straight? That's the question.
The good news is I don't have to cut it straight because there's just random lots of shit and
No
weeds,
lines,
so.
no lines required.
Dude, so many
I
times.
feel that it's going to be large penises drawn in a lot of areas tomorrow.
I'll just checkerboard it. No, usually,
there you
like,
go.
there's days where I'll start in the middle and just start mowing in a small circle and just get bigger and bigger and bigger until I hit the edges, just because I get fucking bored. And it doesn't matter how I mow them, so, I mean, I'll mow all
It
kinds of
works.
different directions. Yeah, that's a good time.
Yeah, design your own crop circles. I like it.
Oh, shit.
Welcome, ACS Husk. How you doing?
Oh,
Sorry about
there he is.
Doing-
There he is.
I'm doing great, Stubbs.
My son came in and he wanted to plugging in upstairs. I'm like, I'm live on the air. It was like, he's not bothered.
And get off, Dad.
Yeah.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
It's good to be here.
Well,
It's been too
been a
long.
while.
It's almost
You and I have been
impossible
on the
because
mic together.
it has been a while, Paul. Has been indeed. But I get off like an hour after you guys start, so it never pans out.
Mm.
So
When you mean get off, that is not an
From
innuendo,
work.
is it?
No,
it's quite.
I
well,
I
It
don't
could be.
get off
He
until
hears
after I
Stubbs'
get off.
voice and- yeah, he hears
That
Stubbs'
makes-
voice and he just gets off. It just takes him an hour. Yeah.
There's quite a few. There's quite a few in chat for the 1 year anniversary. Welcome, Pong Soul. Welcome. Wait a minute, let's go up the list. Welcome, Muppet.
Cerebral
Thanks for
Paul.
stopping in.
Well, yeah, welcome, Cerebral Paul. Thanks for stopping in.
Welcome, VJ. Thanks for stopping in. Welcome. It's a tradition here. Even if you're in the panel, if you're in the chat, you get a shout out. Welcome, all airtime.
That's the only reason I go in chat, so I get a couple of shout outs every show.
Welcome, Animated Evil.
Hey!
Welcome, Xbox 448. Thanks for stopping in. Welcome to the Indie Gamer. Welcome to the ACS Husk, who's also in chat. Neon Synthesis. Thanks for stopping in. I think it's your first time. I think he might have been in Mass Mayhem's stream earlier. Is that the same one? It may. I don't know.
Who?
Neon
Neon
Synthesis.
Synthesis.
I think earlier on he introduced himself as someone else, so he knows you, I believe.
Oh, right.
Mass Mayhem, yes. He's one of your
right,
crew,
okay.
I believe.
Dragon Wolf.
Welcome, Neon.
Let's have a look. Go back up a bit.
So because
Welcome,
he does this every
Masuku.
week, am I the only one who's thought about creating a second account with some kind of questionable name and just throwing it in there and seeing if he says it?
Yeah,
just
that'd be
out of-
pretty cool. Wouldn't it? Because do you remember when I first tried to say Masuku? Do you remember that? It took me
Oh, yeah.
weeks to actually say it correctly.
Yeah.
Months.
On
It
the
took you
bloody
months.
messages. How'd you say it?
Oh, there's another one.
Moo
There's
Suku.
Right.
Yeah,
I know
he's-
this is one of Mass Mayhem's.
He's still nearly there as well.
Masuku.
Masuko, yeah.
Now you've made me wonder. Right, here's one. This is one of Mass Mayhem's Twitch followers. I know. Those are
Voicey.
Voicey. There you go.
yeah.
Voicey. There you go. Welcome. Thanks for stopping. And Reddis TV. Thanks for stopping in. Let's go up the list now. I think that's as far as my
All airtime.
people go.
You missed one, Stubbs.
All
Have a look.
airtime.
I tagged you with it.
All airtime.
Speaking of Twitter, I'm like super disappointed in the internet and the lack of sharing my memes that I created this week.
That's great. You
Stubbs
are
has seen
fighting
it.
a very meme-heavy Twitter at the moment. You know, you
Yeah,
are
but
combating
this
against
one- This one digs pretty deep.
I try my best. You know, when I am on Twitter.
Well, I
to
did
try and
post
push out there.
it. I did post it with the Fireside account, though. I guess that I retweeted
I
it.
think I know what one you're talking about, and I chose purposely not to share that one. I thought it was funny.
Okay. I've missed one. Lou Sassel, if I'm saying it right.
Say it again.
Hello. Lou Sassel?
Sassel.
Sassel. Lou Sassel. Hello.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And plus, Gaming Beyond the Box just dropped in with an important message that Husk molests goats. He has the pics. I'm just reading that out.
To be honest,
I reckon
that's
that's-
not
Well,
surprised.
let's
If you
just-
weren't
let's
actually
just-
surprised,
Let's
just,
tell the
you know.
truth here. For one, they only looked like goats, and I was the one being molested.
Oh, well, that's okay. That's okay. That's
And
okay.
you're saying the goat didn't say nay. Okay.
No, I was like, stop it. No.
Well,
Like, and they
the
just.
lady AF in chat. Welcome.
He's just trying to make cheese.
Oh,
Oh my. Oh my.
That weren't me. That was lady. That was lady.
Okay, we're just right off the rails already. Okay, here we go.
Definitely the explicit thing on the podcast feed. I always do though, anyway, in case.
Welcome to the 1 year anniversary Game Beyond the Box takeover of Midweek Gaming.
Yes, and there we go. This is what we've got.
Yeah. So,
May it continue.
some kind of topic. I will. So,
there's topics.
Yes, there is.
Very limited.
There are topics.
No.
Hey, did you? Hey,
We'll have to see
Pongful
what
nailed it.
happens. We will.
Bush Light turns you into goat lover. See, there it is, right there. Pongful said
Ooh.
So with games generally, you have a happy ending. Right.
And with goats apparently as well.
You like it that much?
Yeah.
We've gone from goat happy ending to game happy ending. Right. Okay.
Oh my.
So generally,
Right. Okay. Go on. Sorry, Snubs.
I'm sorry. Oh wow. What a transition. Okay. Well.
Oh God.
so generally with games, you have happy endings, and you don't often get a bad ending. It's like, you're all going to hate me for saying this. Gears always has happy ending, right? I would love it where, say for once, the bloody cog didn't come out victorious, and the Locust Horde won, and they overtook. I would love it if you had an ending where
Then you have to claw your way back in the next one.
Yeah, in the next one, it would be great. But for some reason, I know why the heroes win. It makes people feel good, but in games like Gears, I think it really paid themselves to have a dark ending. I don't
think Dom dying was actually the positive ending that everyone was really after.
Oh, spoiler! Now I know he dies. Damn it!
That is literally. If you haven't played it by now, there is no point me. Come on. That is number 2. Oh.
Now I know someone dies. Jeez, wow. Ruined.
Well, that's back. Yeah, but I'm about recently. They're all happy endings. In most games, they're happy endings now. I'm not on about just in any game. It's always a happy ending.
I'll give you one that might not.
Choices to make.
Depending on what you do. If you go back and play the Suffering. Yeah, it hasn't aged well graphics wise, but it's still a good game, and your outcome in the game is literally based around your choices. So it could end bad. It could have a really sad, fucked up ending, or it could have a happy ending. There's no in between.
And as far as I'm concerned, if I die a lot in the game and just stop playing after a certain death, that's not a happy ending. I just, it's over. The story has ended. The main character died. It's done.
But I mean, in all honesty, happy endings are the best. Yes, depending on the perspective on what you're actually talking about.
Yeah,
I think game-wise, it's hard to tell a story and not have a happy ending because you don't necessarily know you're going to get to continue that story.
That's true.
Pretty much every story in books, movies, and everything
still
has
talking
a
about
happy
games?
ending.
We're talking
We're
about
still talking
massages.
about games, huh?
So yeah.
My bad.
The thing is, the happy ending is there for a purpose. It gives you a sense of closure, because when you're playing a game or watching a movie or reading a book, you are driven through the narrative to connect to a certain character, and you are driven along that sort of narrative to show support, and you want to really connect with that character. If all of a sudden that character's got, sorry, dead, you won't feel that sense of closure that you finished the game, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can understand. I think it depends on, to be honest with you, it depends on the narrative of the story. There can be stories there where it can twist the story on your head, and you're like, I know of a particular one where you believe you are the hero, and at the end you realise you're the bad guy. And that's like a big kick in the groin. It's like, wow, okay.
See, I love that shit. I love the gut-wrenching, like, oh my god, I just went through 8 hours of this, and they punch you in the gut and leave it hanging. That's the kind of shit I love. Like, Stubbs is right in my mind. Like, there isn't enough cliffhanging, not happy endings. Like, you can always do a sequel.
There are ways to do it real quick.
So Indie Game was telling me in chat that there is loads of games that end with not so happy endings as well.
Yeah.
I mean, do you really want Stubbs to go down the route of defining for you, Indy,
No, I don't.
what a happy ending is?
No, I do not.
No. But I was gonna say, and especially in science fiction, older classic science fiction, it wasn't always about happy endings. If you one more modern day is the Children of Earth season that they did for Torchwood. That show did not end happy, but it's probably some of the best science fiction you'll ever see on TV. It's like the hero won, but did he really? And you have to. I'm not gonna spoil the show on the off chance somebody hadn't seen it, but it was clearly not a happy ending, but it was the necessary conclusion to the story. If they could figure out how to do that in game form, it would be great. It's just figuring how to tell a story that way in game form.
So I guess it'd be more fair to say, like, most of the games that, I don't know, a lot of people play, even myself, like, I've only ran into a handful that have not happy endings. I think seems to be more that have happy endings.
Indie gamers said basically that. Where was the comment? So there we go. So if you're playing too many AAA games, if you think that there's always a happy ending, now, yeah, I would actually agree with him. That's probably why. I would agree with that.
Well, that's not a fair assessment to say you're playing too many of this type of game if you're only seeing happy endings. That's not fair to say. Okay, that's like you're putting down the fact that we play a lot of AAA games, and we're some of us aren't as into indies as you, but it's no reason to look down on the fact that we play that many AAA games.
I don't think that's what I know Indy very well is a good mate. I don't think that's not exactly what you meant.
Yeah, no, I think it's easy to take his message out of context. He's definitely not trying to hit at us. I know that for sure.
Yeah, there's no reason they can't do that in AAA game. It's a matter of the story they want to tell. They could easily do that in Bethesda could easily do that in any of the Fallout games. You could actually definitely have a not happy ending and still have a proper ending for any of those games. Why they choose not to. Again, it's probably because they know that most people will complain if it's not a hoop, hip, hip, hooray, hoorah ending,
It's what a lot of the masses prefer happy endings, don't they?
Oh, even in movies and stuff. I mean, if you have a movie that doesn't have a happy ending, I mean, it's gonna, even I've been known to leave a movie and go, God, that was kind of depressing,
I think, to be honest with you, when it comes to bad endings, it's a lot harder to do it correctly. So, if you have a bad ending, you could easily get someone to go, well, they've just done a bad ending because it's easy. They've just done a bad ending because they could be bothered to actually do an ending. To do a bad ending well, as Huss said, punches you in the gut. It's not that easy because you have to build up a very good story prior to that to draw you in. So it's either a twist, or it kind of leads you into really connecting with the character and the story itself, and in a good way that you're just not going to feel like shafted at the end of it.
They have to misdirect you like on purpose, so like at the end you're like, what the.
Yeah, it's also the balance of, okay, we won, we defeated whatever the big bad was, but at what cost? In that sense, it's not always a happy ending, or it doesn't always have to be a happy ending. What did getting here cost us? Like in the case of the death in Gears, and games like that, okay, we won, hooray! But at the same time, we're mourning the loss of our friend.
Yeah, I think one of the best examples of that, I think it was Final Fantasy X. If you've played that, when they you have to beat the bad guy. I'm not going to spoil. You have to. There's obviously the bad guy in that is something called Sin. You go through the entire game of beating such a bad guy, and at the very, very, very pinnacle end, someone dies. Okay, I'm not going to tell you who, but in case you haven't played it. But yeah, but Final Fantasy X does do a brilliant job of that. It's quite upsetting, in fact, because that game was what I think I spent 18, 90 hours with someone in the team, and it's like, oh, really? You're going to go out like that?
I love it when the game makes you emotional. It's happened twice for me in Gears. Obviously, Dom. and then I'm not going to say because spoilers, like Gears 5, you get a choice, and it's seeing a certain person's reaction to it. That,
Really?
I felt like a bugger. I did.
I would have said Maria.
Doing it. Yeah,
When
the
you fight
action.
Maria.
Yeah.
That was a
as
much
well.
more kicker. That was a much more kick in the guts than anything else, because and that's what kind of, in my case, made Dom's story even more horrendous, because you saw how this poor sod just went through, and he was challenging himself. He always had hope. And then to find his partner in that state, and you're like, oh dear God. And then to see his character kind of break down, then he gets built up again. That was a great battle. You saw him battle throughout that element. So, yeah, I said Maria, because that was that as well. Jesus, that was like, whoa, hang on. I won't spoil it, but you should be playing it by now. Come on.
Yeah.
No, you are right. They could do. I mean, obviously, nothing will compare to the older games. With just, I think if a game can make you emotional in a game, they've done their job right. I think that some games don't even do any of that stuff. They don't. VJ, have you got any comments?
Sorry?
Have you got any comments on this subject?
What was the question?
Do you think there's too many happy endings in games?
I think whether it's got a happy ending or a bad ending is irrelevant, really. I think games have evolved so much, and studios and creators have got such diverse visions. It's got to be more about the journey, especially for you, since you don't finish any games. It shouldn't make any difference to you. But
nice.
But you've got to look at the last.
I've completed every Gears just for the fact. There you go.
I think it's about a well-told story, and telling a good story in a video game is and can be really, really difficult. So I think that, I mean, you play the Yakuza games, right? And you play The Last of Us. There's just two games, even God of War, right? Do they really have happy stories or really happy endings? No, but the really good games, like the Yakuza ones, what they do have is that there may be tragedy in the game, and there may not be exactly what you wanted, even though you enjoyed the game. But they do seem to sort of wrap up each episode or each storyline with a silver lining, and I think that that definitely plays a part in in your overall experience of playing a game. So I really do think it's just, I think Paul mentioned it. Look, you've got to let creators sort of express themselves, whether it's in games or other creative mediums, and you've just got to be open to different scenarios, right? Because we can all be critics right after playing the game. And I talk about video games specifically because they're a lot harder to make than writing a book, say, or creating a movie, or writing music, or painting, or whatever, right? So anyway, that's my take on it.
That's true. Yeah, they're very good.
I think, to be honest with you, I think the way I'm understanding Stubbs is that he just wants to see a bit of more of a darker element to the human nature, to the human condition. He wants to see that kind of,
You just go on Twitter.
Did anybody else's Twitter just shit its pants right now?
Just go on Twitter. Oh.
What the fuck?
We've all seen it. The hatred, the ugliness, the crying, and the downright disgracefulness. That is fanboyism. wondering, how can I help these misguided manginas? Well,
See,
I don't
you're
know
watching.
what I just did.
Yeah, I saw that. Go on,
Yeah,
go on,
it's-
Stubbs. I had a comment to make, but go on.
Did I play all the video? I don't
Yeah,
know what happened there.
it won't. If it's
it went
if
to
it's
the video
that long,
file.
you actually have to click share and then click video file, select the
Oh,
video
that's probably-
file, and then
Yeah, it literally stopped at
'cause it's too
manginas.
long.
Oh, well,
It was a good time to stop. It was.
I know, it was
perfect
fantastic cut.
timing. It was great.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that's
when they're
what
that
Twitter
big,
is.
you have to share the video file from the bottom of StreamYard.
I thought you were talking about manginas.
It worked early, apparently. The whole video worked.
Really?
Start. Yeah.
Huh.
I think I pressed something on my earphones and it stopped. I don't know, by mistake, so I don't know what I did. But yeah, that's. But VJ's completely right. Just go on Twitter.
Yeah, so it all comes back to sort of see, watching that sort of small sort of movie trailer or whatever it was. It all comes back to people on Twitter. The more you observe it and don't get drawn into it, you notice people's ignorance, right? Their tolerance levels, non-existent tolerance levels, I should say, and fundamentally, how the system and how their parents have educated them, and it really shows you the lack of control that people have over their own faculties. It's incredible, and they say, and I think Removable might have said this a while ago, so I'm just paraphrasing what he said. They say that humans are separated from apes by just perhaps less than 1% of differing DNA, and it should worry most of us, right? Having existed on this planet, us and the ones before us, many of them seem to have missed the memo. So yeah, it's pretty shocking. I'm sure you said something like that. So I'm sorry if I got it wrong, Removable.
You got it very good. You probably paraphrased it better than I did.
Oh, I paraphrased what you said. Okay, so and you only have to sort of look around you, right, to see how people comment and speak, and especially even though they're angry, right, you can just feel that the intent and the sort of and the type of energy that people evoke or emote. I forgot which one's the right word now. I'm getting old. And if you do that kind of thing and you do react that way in a vicious manner, even unknowingly, right? It shows you, as I say, you're not in control of your faculties, and it says more about you than your intended target. That's upsetting the equilibrium within your sort of existential boundaries, right? And you're the one who needs urgent attention, and there are ways to sort that out, right? If you're inclined to do something about your current mental conditioning. But I think we're going off topic here, so I'll just shut up.
I wouldn't worry about going off topic.
I was going to say, during our impromptu break there, I thought of a game that does not have a happy ending, but it still has a very satisfying ending. Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah, good point.
It does not end.
And the first one.
But it has. I wasn't able to play the first one. The horse race at the
first
beginning
one.
the horse race at the beginning stopped me dead in my ability to be able to play that game, which kind of saddened me. But so I can only go off Red Dead Redemption 2, and the way it ends is not happy, but it is satisfying as a whole. The story.
Good topic, Stubbs.
Ooh.
For a change.
He just wanted.
You can tell VJ's been on Twitter. That's what
I was going to say for the 1 year anniversary, I'm just trying to get kicked off the show.
You ain't getting out of that no easy. No matter what you do, you're stuck here. You've signed the contract. You've eaten the cookies.
Yeah. Also, Stubbs, he only asked that question because he doesn't complete games. So he wanted to know.
That's right. He's generally
generalized.
Fishing for information,
Yeah, I'll be honest. Compared to the whole panel, I hardly completed any games compared to. I'm trying to complete more games.
No, I'm with you, Stubbs. I've rarely completed games. I've got so many. I just go, move on to something else, or so. Ooh, I'm like the dog in Up. Ooh, squirrel, and then I'm off. There's another game. I get it. Ooh, squirrel. So. No, I agree with the Twitter thing though, VJ, as well, because I decided to take a step away from Twitter for a bit, and coming back to it, I've kind of seen it for what it is. You look at it in a different light after taking a nice break from it. So that's why I'm not on Twitter so much anymore. Yeah, you really do see it, and yeah, that mute and block button has become very popular for me now.
Oh, it's
I
the
guess,
best.
does that mean...
button.
Go on, Husk.
No, I was just gonna say the block button is the best button.
The block.
It's my
Yeah, I
favorite.
understand.
I've used it so much. I've worn my thumb out.
You're not as big good as wilmyhood, though, are you?
Oh, no. Look, I get the fact that we sometimes, well, me more often than not, I have a bleak outlook towards Twitter. However, I am grateful for the fact that, rather than sort of being I don't know, maybe 500 years back, if you said anything out of turn, you'd be sort of gruesomely and painfully nailed to a wooden cross, right? Whereby, the crucifier would have to punch nails through your flesh at least 6 inches deep, going into the wood and or being, sort of burnt alive at the stake. So what I can say, in terms of Twitter being beneficial is that if someone vehemently disagrees with you, they only tweet at you now, right? Rather than doing the former.
Yeah, that's true. Well, in some countries, there is still some intolerances still happening around the world. And I guess in that case, it kind of leaves me to be the devil's advocate and kind of bat for Twitter, which I don't really want to do. But I will say Twitter is... We've got to remember that we are in our infancy with social media. No one here has lived their life through social media yet. We're getting there, but we haven't. We never got rules when we got told this. This was thrown onto our lap.
Before us are literally living it, unfortunately.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, remember, no one was really told how to behave on Twitter. Twitter is a very unique social experiment, if you may will. Remember, you're going to send 40 characters and there is no facial recognition, there's no emotion behind it, it's simply text. So if, for instance, I say something mean to ACS Husk, I could say it jokingly, but he may actually read it as quite a vindictive manner. And say something back, and I won't realise that I've hurt him. So there is that emotional context kind of removed from a lot of social media posts, if it's text-based.
Yeah, you can't get that through text.
Actually,
no.
Funny enough, this happened to you recently. You got accused of something on Twitter, didn't you? You were being... Yeah.
Yeah, but you have to. As I said, I kind of tried to look through it as empathy. I tried to look through it as, again, we haven't been taught this. We're all learning. We're all trying to work our way through. And I know it's sometimes, some people could have a bad day. They tweet something stupid. Some people could misread it. Some people could just be bad people. But again, I kind of go through the best. What I kind of look through is that I try to see the best in everybody, even if they've tweeted something bad, because it could be multiple elements that they've come to that conclusion. It could be they've been, badly educated. They could just be snapping out at someone. They could have a really bad day, and for some reason they decide to use Twitter as the buffer to which take it all out.
Yeah,
well, the other side is if they end each snarky post with a smiley face or a grin, and they think that makes it okay. I know people like that. That no matter how nasty it is what they say, they think, well, if I end it with a smile, even though they don't mean it in a joking way, you have to take it that way. No, yeah.
Well, I would say that's education. That's not someone who's who understands.
No, I know people that do it purposely because they know they're being an asshole, and they think that smile makes it,
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I'm not disregarding. There is assholes out there. I think there is assholes out there, but I think, to be honest with you, there's probably a lot less assholes than we realise, and there's probably
removable. I think what Twitter does, right? Because if you look at it like this, right? Everyone says the large-scale pandemic is COVID. It's not. It's malnutrition. It's green cover. It's economic imbalance, and it's ignorance, right? And it's and it shows you the lack of humanitarianism out there, right? And it's not okay. And you're saying that we're seeing more and more people that are probably not the sort of ones that we would want in our circle, but the ignorance has always been there. It's just that it's through Twitter and other means of social media and social groups via WhatsApp and WeChat and so on and so forth. It's just more clearly visible. The truth is, visible and right in front of you in terms of how people think and how they fundamentally are, right? Not the case that nobody's looking, but I go back to my point that you see that so many people are not in possession or not in control of their own faculties in terms of being decent, right, to one another. And it's more and more prevalent on Twitter, but I don't think it's something that's just surfaced. I think it's been there back as far back as 1,000 years or 500 years.
I'm not saying there. My counterpoint to that is, I look. If you look at we go back 20 years, 30 years, there was always people in your group who would say something stupid shit, and what would happen? You quite quickly would either, through joking means, force, or some manipulation, quite instantly educate them and corral them, maybe, into a better human being. Now, you kind of don't have that because most people's lives are stuck on social media. I'm not saying that groups of going out with people doesn't exist. It's clearly groups going out with people still exist. But more and more time is spent now on social media than any other time in our lives. We get up, we're plugged in. We go to bed, we're almost plugged in at that point as well. And so that kind of corralling or kind of social cohesion in terms of making a decent human being is kind of thrown out the window a little bit. It's kind of, it's kind of a big spanner in the works. And I said, this is because...
I would disagree with... BJ keeps saying, they're not in control of their faculties. No, they are. They know very well what they're doing.
Tell me, Paul, answer me this.
You can't use that. Well, they don't know what they're doing. They're not in
control.
No,
Paul, let me ask you this. Right? When you're angry or people are angry, do they act rationally? Do they behave nicely? They don't,
well,
right?
No, that's okay, but that's once they're angry. But before that, when they're choosing to post a certain way, it's not because they're not in control or they haven't been taught. It's they're choosing not to. All the stuff we see, all the vitriol we see on Twitter, a lot of it isn't out of reaction. It's out of, I'm going to be a dick because it's fun. In
some cases, yeah, I would agree, but also in some cases, it's a release.
In a lot of what I see, it's exactly what it is because they want those clicks, they want that attention. And
without a doubt, Twitter rewards people
Facebook,
for the worst case scenario.
Before that, it was AOL. Before that, it was BBS's. Remember, I've been up through the whole thing, guys. This is nothing new. Every generation that has been online in any form, and even before that, has had these people that purposely do that. They look to get your goat. They do it on purpose. It's not
but I would say that it was less pervasive at that stage. You look at when it was don't get me wrong. When you was having online games, really back in the early days, there was always dicks. There was always people having a go at and stuff like that. But I'm saying it wasn't 24/7. It wasn't constant. You weren't constantly plugged in back then.
Well, that's because it wasn't available 24/7.
I think
exactly. So that's what I say. It's conditioning you.
No, removable. I think if you look at deeper at what Paul is saying, right, my takeaway from it is that if you really break it down to the core, it's not about good or bad people or this person's a dick or this person's a whatever messiah. It comes down to, for me, two things. There's joyful people and there's miserable people, and then everything stems and flows and grows from that set of roots.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then then you have to go to much more deeper. You have to go to a deeper question. Why the miserable people were miserable? How did they get there? Was there a reason they got there?
And that's where you make the point where, before, maybe 10, 15, 20, before social media was so prevalent, that there were your friends and the people that surrounded you that would keep you in check, keep you in a line, get you back in alignment and educate you. And that's what I'm saying, is that there are a lot of people out there, right? If you think about it 100 years ago, everything was about survival, right? Now we can go shopping for 30 days and everything's in your home, right? And people are still bored, right? There's 70% of Americans are on some sort of medication. And the other 30% are either on alcohol, either on tobacco, weed, or on some illicit drug, right? But as I come back to you, what we see more and more that's prevalent out there is people's behavior, right? And it is changing with technology, right? And there are reasons why people are stressed, why they're not in control of their faculties or emotions, why they're irritated, why they're being irritational, right? And as Paul says, people writing certain things because they want to, why they're being being reactive, or why are they thinking this specific certain way, and why are they even prejudiced, right? And we see it in the news day in and day out, right? And why do people not deviate, sort of get embodied, right, with that type of news that's on every channel that we go onto. And as I say, right, it's some of it has to do with each and every point that each of us has made. Paul's made some good points, you've made some good points, and I think it's education. But I think when you look at it, it's a combination of all of those things, right?
Well, it's also very important to remember that the world is a much smaller place. 35 years ago, none of us would be talking to each other. We wouldn't even know we existed, probably.
I couldn't even speak English.
50 years ago, I wouldn't know if there was some kind of big incident in California where 70 people were killed or whatever, or if something happened in England, because we didn't have that kind of structure. It was a much smaller. Your community was a much smaller group.
Yep. And you're right, Paul. Like 100 years ago, it would take months to send an emissary with news from, say, one side of Russia to the other. Not that you want to make the trek, but there you go.
Yep, it's just like England is still a good sampling of it, because you guys still have villages that everything is kind of enclosed in the village square. You go shop, everything can be done right there locally, except for going to the big stores.
Oh, well, I think the Vicar of Dibley would have to sort of disagree with you there.
Well, yeah, but I love that show. That was a fun show.
Yeah, brilliant. It's brilliant.
But you get my meaning, though.
Yeah.
Your community wasn't much beyond 20 miles outside of where you lived.
Nope, and it was all about survival and making sure that each and everyone in and around your community survived.
Yep.
And now we can't wait to lynch each other. Especially in Dibley. Anyway, I'm just concerned that Stubbsand might have fallen asleep, so let's check in on him.
I'm still here. Just listening to the deep thought debate going on.
Sorry.
Yeah, he gets real quiet when we start debating. He just listens. Or he goes off and he turns on some TV show or something, probably Graham Norton from last week or something. But,
Happy anniversary.
Just a shame Mr. Tushi can't pop in. He's not popped in, so I'm guessing he's gone.
Yeah, he may have gone to bed already.
Yeah, he's up at 4 a.m. and he's had a bit of a rough couple of days, hasn't he? He's driven a lot of miles. So
he has.
No one can blame him.
But we should. Everybody tweet him and tag him and blame him for not showing up.
I am doing now on the other screen. It's fine. I'm calling him names for being a no-show.
So this, I don't know if any of you or all of you watched it. I don't know. It was last week. Did any of you not catch the PlayStation showcase, and what did you think?
I caught it. I thought it was pretty good, actually. Yeah.
I didn't watch it because I don't have a PlayStation. I watched some of the stuff afterwards, and of course I've seen all the stuff on Twitter and all the stuff on the other shows about it. But, from what I hear, it was a good show. So there you go. There's my take.
I tell you what, did anyone actually see that Jim Ryan looked thin, didn't he? Jim Ryan did look. I thought he looked thin. From all the other times I've seen him, he looked a little thinner. I was like, Christ, he looks stressed. When I first saw him, because he came out, I was like, he looks a little thin. He looks like the stress is starting to eat away at him a little bit, maybe. But I thought it was a good show. Insomniac kind of took over, I think.
Yeah.
They pretty much held that high standard and just pushed through with the new announcements that they're doing. I mean, let's hope we don't hear about crunch in a couple of months' time, because Christ, they've got a lot of games to produce.
Yeah, but
delayed till 2028.
Yeah, but crunch
a lot of those games are quite a ways off too.
The problem is people use the word crunch, and from what I understand, crunch is just part of the industry. There's nothing you can do about it. They get paid for their work. It's part. Nothing you can do about it.
Well, some do. Yeah, some do. I mean, to be honest with you, it's part. Crunch is part of most industries. To be honest with you, it's not a gaming only element. And I think me and Animated could easily attest to that. right now. In
A
fact,
test. You mean a test?
A test. It's a test anti-test to it.
Any deadline-driven industry, or anytime you're given a deadline, there's probably going to be a little bit of crunch.
Let's just call it what it is: overtime.
Yeah.
Unpaid overtime.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of them are being paid though as well. So.
Well,
I think they call it that, don't they? Because they offer them a percentage of something.
You say anybody under contract probably isn't, I'd assume.
Yeah. Unless, like, there was a time
unless it's
when
written
I was working,
in.
I was a contract employee or a salaried employee, and one time we had to do something and get it done, and they did offer us overtime. They said, "Look, we know you're but we're still going to pay you extra," and it wasn't a low amount of extra either, but so it can be done even if you're contractor.
I think it depends on the company, to be honest with you. It depends on the company and how well they are willing to, treat their staff. There are companies out there who will appreciate the extra mile you go for, and then there were companies out there who will just expect it. And that will vary depending on which company. And as you said, when it comes to a job that has a timeline on it, or you're going to have it regardless.
Right. It's just a matter of, can the crunch be, what they have to work on, especially in the gaming industry. To me, it seems they have to work on what's crunchable and what do we need to delay it for another 3 months. What can we get done if we really push it, and what do we really need to put off? Which is what we're probably seeing with Halo and a few other things. I mean, look at all the delays that are happening into next year for Sony.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
you're
think
right.
there is some. It's going to be some delays. As I said, Insomniac is punching out. They've got a good history of doing good games, and now they're punching out some big titles. So people are got high expectations for them.
They've got a very mature pipeline over there, right? That's not just sort of just come about. And you got to look at the game budgets, right? These days, right? I mean, people say 100 million, 150. You can easily work out some of these budgets are up to 200 million, even more. And a 3 month or 6 month delay, they just cannot afford to. Sony especially can't afford to release a substandard game because their customer base is pretty narrow, right? You've got a customer base which is transitioning across to PS5, and it's going quickly, it's impressively, but not quite as quickly, I think, as they would like, due to the issues that are plaguing every industry at the moment in terms of components. And if they have to delay a game by 3 months, they've got a process over there which is, as I say, is pretty mature, not just mature pipelines over at Insomniac, but they've got to make sure that if they release a game that it hits, right? And I mean, I kind of nearly fell asleep during the first half of the show, if I'm quite honest with you. But I think Sony's show was pretty calculated in the fact that they did whatever they needed to do in order to hit their forecast, right, for install base by March 2022, which is, if you're not aware, is Sony's financial year end. And then I went back to, I didn't really have a good connection at the time, so I went back like Paul perhaps, and went and just looked at the main games that really interested me. Not that I have a PS5, and I'm looking at when some of these games are coming out at some point. There's some of them are a way off. It would be, I don't need one for at least 18 months right now. And it was just really interesting to see that the pulling power of something like Spider-Man, right, which is just the announcement. And I think I was shocked to see that it's got something like an aggregated 16 million views, right, just for an announcement versus, God of War's 10 or Wolverine's, whatever, 6, 7, 8. What it showed me in total, not in terms of like, was the show good or not. I mean, I'm a big God of War fan, so obviously I'm looking forward to that game, and I can see a lot more that's going on in the game versus somebody who hasn't played it, right, in terms of differences that I'm already spotting in terms of visuals as well as gameplay. But overall, what it showed me in terms of the views, it's an incredibly healthy outlook for Sony, Xbox, Nintendo, the industry as a whole, especially in terms of what looks like really severe or intense consumer demand. If as you were saying, if those trailers actually translate into great games, right, and that statement can be leveled at all three platform holders, as well as other publishers, right? So it wasn't so much as to what Sony showed that interested me, but to show me the evolution in the visuals, which we're still waiting to see, right? But we've known from time, right? It's going to be at least a couple of years away, but more so, it was interesting to read in terms of what their strategy is and what they're planning, and you know, I remember, I mean, my first PlayStation I bought, I don't know if I've ever said this before, but I was actually in Japan in 1993 or 94 when the system launched. I was in Akihabara. I actually queued up for a PlayStation in I think it was Softmat store. You know, I asked for two and he was served me one, and I was lucky to get that because I didn't speak Japanese. And it's taken, and looking at Sony, they used to really rely heavily on third party, and it's taken Sony a lot of investment, a lot of risk, a lot of failures over at least 2 decades to become self-reliant in terms of content. And I hope Sony, you know, in terms of what they're good at, remain focused on what they excel at, which is obviously, as we know, is like sort of cutting-edge single-player narrative-driven games, right? As well as obviously, we know they're taking on a few studios, you know, focusing on multiplayer games, and or there's another. Not multiplayer games, just multiplayer games as a service, is it something like that? So I'm not so familiar with this, so I'm sorry about that. So and it's also the nature of how Sony go about developing, designing content compared to every other company almost, right? And which really dawned on me when I actually spoke to someone, and it was just about something else completely different. I was speaking to somebody in the video gaming recruitment industry space who I've known for a very long time, and I was talking about something else, and we just got talking about the show because obviously that just came up as part of the course, really, and obviously, you know, Xbox and third-party publishers are using, you know, obviously, you know, the latest or similar technologies to create content, but not as far-reaching or refined as Sony at the moment, and again goes down into what the strategy is and what the investment is into sort of unknown methods and approaches and uncharted territory, right, in terms of how games are produced and how they become more definitive and how the content becomes more inspiring. Of course, you know, it's a matter of taste, right, because it's not going to be for everybody, otherwise their games would sell 20-30 million like Nintendo's, but nobody's really does other than Nintendo's, right? So am I going off topic here, or should I just carry on?
No, you're on topic.
Carry on.
And you know, and we only see, you know, as things progress, like we want to see great visuals now, but we know that game engines are currently being repurposed, right, or built upon in terms of, you know, cross-gen games. They're not fundamentally, no one's fundamentally investing in, you know, not the average guys, right, that are fundamentally investing in tearing down current engines and rebuilding everything from scratch, right, in order to facilitate whatever their next game is going to be and take advantage of all the features that these hardware systems afford us, right. And that will probably happen before or prior to, you know, the pro versions or revision versions of these consoles, evidently, or perhaps coming out. The rumors have already sort of started, right? And so we'll see some of these elements or facets of these methodologies, right, and approaches to game development, as well as the technology next year or perhaps even the year beyond, right? But not to a degree that pipelines will be sort of fully, how can I put it, evolved, right? And that will come with time. And primarily, you know, we look to Sony, right, especially their first-party elite studios, right, to show us exactly what it is that they're doing and what they're planning for, right. And it's just because the way that they're investing and what they have to do, as I said, for a very narrow audience, right. And I was speaking to Stubbs, and I said, if you really think about it, right, most of Sony's first-party studios only sold to a very low single-digit percentile, right, if you really look at it, right. And that's what they use to actually drive the sales of the hardware, right, and entice third parties to partner up with them or sell more hardware, and sort of maintain their brand leadership, right, which is something obviously we're looking to Xbox to really sort of turn the screw on, right, this gen, in terms of marketing efforts that they've got planned for Europe, Asia, and the US. And as I say, you know, the audience that they target is very narrow. And for me, it's really interesting as well that I was looking that just Insomniac came up, but they're also still recruiting. I didn't know the team was only 275 people, so they do obviously do a lot of recruitment, but they are actually recruiting right now. I don't know if it's been said or not, and that's across. They already have 2 studios and 2 teams, so I'm just wondering that if Sony are really focused on they never used to be, but they are now heavily investing into licensing, right? Because you only have to, as I say, look at the views that some of those trailers have got, and that's their marketing done, right, for the next sort of 12
Yeah.
to 18 months, regardless of the fact that because I know some people that do a lot of licensing with consumer licensing with Disney, and Disney aren't cheap. Then you don't really make a lot of money when it comes to playing ball with those guys. And as I say, I think Sony are going back to a strategy that I saw them trying to implement at the back end of 1990, because that's when Columbia TriStar used to distribute the PlayStation in Europe at that time, before the Sony division in itself sort of established itself. And so it was the DVD, the home DVD video division that was distributing. I remember Mickey Mouse and stuff like that. And they're trying to become far more self-reliant. It's taken them a lot of money and a lot of time to do so, and they're seeing the fruits of it nearly 2 decades later. And Nintendo have managed to do it since I don't know how many years back now, 30 or 40. And I think that other studios
they're just completely different, aren't they? I mean, you look at PlayStation. I mean, you've hit on a really point. I was kind of thinking, it's like, no matter what Sony and Xbox are doing, Nintendo, I mean, what they announced? Bluetooth. I mean, we've got 2 big players who are going for the most top gen graphics. They're pushing the boundaries left, right, and centre. And Nintendo's biggest element is Bluetooth.
Yep.
While you're
in the now, they're
while you're on the subject, VJ, sorry, but Masuko asked quite an interesting question in the chat. You might be able to answer, and only you, because I haven't got a clue. What's the difference between a big budget game for Western and a big budget game for Japanese? What is the difference in budgets? Yeah.
What I would say, and I think I mentioned this on Dish Old Boom Show, is that I spent a lot of time in Japan, and they really look after their staff over there. But I was actually shocked at the kind of salaries you can earn in Japan. The manpower cost over there is incredible. It's almost, I would say, 30 to 40% more expensive to make a game over there in Japan.
Really?
Yeah, it is.
That's interesting. That is.
And that is partly why, other than Square Enix, and forgive me if I'm wrong, if you look at Capcom, only being able to make a 7 or 8 hour game in terms of Resident Evil or Devil May Cry, using reusing assets and focusing on their talent to come up with creative level designs and character designs. I mean, you can't knock their creative ability in terms of character models and stylistic sort of animation systems and presenting characters almost as if they're lifelike in terms of their attributes and how they come across. But if you look at the scope of their games, it's difficult to compete with Western games, and that shift occurred ever since BioShock. I think if you go far back as that, only Kojima, if you look at him, was the last guy who was afforded, right, when he made MGS5, was it? In terms of the scale and the scope of the game, right? And since then, even if you look at Death Stranding, it's still limited in its scope, and it's just purely because of the cost, purely because Western developers have matured so much over the last 2 decades, and there's so many of them, and they know that they've got a far bigger audience, right? Especially since console sales in Japan have declined over the years. So even if you look at Square Enix, right, their take on sort of the next Final Fantasy 16, right, it's got far more of a Game of Thrones or The Witcher type of look and feel to it, right, than the traditional Japanese, anime look and feel to it. So it's only really Square Enix or perhaps Sony or perhaps Microsoft, I think, that have got the pockets. Not even Activision. I know Activision to go out there, EA to go out there. They've set up their own publishing offices. They've talked to developers. They've invested, shut down projects, ones that we've never even heard of, right? With developers out there that were looking to co-produce content, right? Capcom and all those guys, they've all explored it, but it just doesn't work because the methodologies in terms of how games are actually produced is very, very different in Japan versus the US. And again, a lot of the talent in Japan, they used to cut their teeth in the video gaming industry. They don't do that anymore. They go to other creative industries such as anime, and obviously we will be able to talk to you about the anime industry or the movie industry out there, where people can go, they can earn a good living, they don't have to work crunch. Because I was in a studio in Japan where people were taking turns to sleep in the studio overnight, and believe me, the floor space is nothing like the grandiose or extravagant studios that we see in making of documentaries over here, right? I mean, those studios are huge, right? You could actually put in 3 of the Japanese studios in one of probably the Santa Monica.
Yeah, I would say the studio is about the same size as a US bathroom.
Yeah, probably. And so it costs a lot. The market's not there, and it's not because hardware sales have slowed there because Sony have pulled out or Nintendo don't want to do it. It's that socially and economically, Japan has changed dramatically. It's no longer what it once was in terms of an economical power that could sustain people's livelihoods until they're 60 or 65, offer them a job for life, and then the state would take care of you. It's to do with their aging demographic. And as I was saying, they've got the oldest population, or oldest percentage of population. I think, I don't know, whatever, 30% of the population is over 60 or 65. And if you compare that to the US, we've got a population which is 5 times the size. Their aging population over 65 or something is like in the low teens, right, or the mid-teens. So it's.
Well, I think it's in relation to the young demographic. There isn't a big young demographic currently at this moment. It's almost like a stagnant element, isn't it?
If we go back to social media and all that sort of stuff that didn't exist back in the mid 90s to early 2000s, and prevalent it is today, their gaming habits have changed, and that's what Microsoft are trying to capitalize on. But there's a lot of work to be done with Game Pass, and xCloud,
Yeah, I hope that answers your question, Masuko.
I thought it would make him warn him never to ask a question again.
No. It was very informative. Thank you. It was very informative.
Good answers.
Very interesting. It was. Just a few shout outs to people in chat. Welcome to That Mama Rocks. Joining it with this animated, it's Timmy. We've also got Lady Foxfire, welcome. The Jinner, I think he's gone now. And I did see Invader Gaming earlier on, welcome. Thanks for stopping in. So, yeah, what did you think to this show, Mass Mayhem, PlayStation show, Case?
Well, I kind of caught the, I think it was a bit of the tail end of it and then caught up with a little bit of it later on. Because I've got like fellow streamers that I kind of watch or mod, so I was doing that when it came on. But I was impressed, obviously, with Insomniac. I mean, I don't have a PS5, and I'm predominantly Xbox and PC now. I've joined the PC Master Race more so with my games. But yeah, I look forward to. Well, more so this evening when I was supposed to be streaming and Xbox Live decided to crap out on me just at the minute when I hit the live button. I was like, oh, great. Thank you very much. But yeah, no, I thought it was pretty good. I'm interested to see more about the games, like the Wolverine.
It's going to be a good one.
It is going to be a good one. Did anyone spot the Easter egg in it, though? The license plate on the car.
License plate?
Yeah, straight off the bat, I was like, "Ooh, yeah, that's going to be good." Yeah, and I'm interested to find out like how much. Well, interested. I know we'll probably never know how much and how much of a gumming did Sony give for Knights of the Old Republic as a exclusive console launch.
Yeah, but that cost a fair bit.
Yeah, that'll cost.
Yeah, I couldn't believe when they dropped that.
I don't know, because everyone was saying, "Oh, it's time," but I believe they paid them to remaster specifically. So
yeah, I thought originally it was going to be just a PS5 console exclusive, but now in the wording they're calling it a launch exclusive.
Oh,
so I imagine that means it's a timed exclusive, because I don't think you could do that anyway.
It's on PC as well, isn't it?
So for those of us coming to PC, it's not that timed console thing isn't going to affect us. We'll just
no. See, join in the PC Master Race. I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, indie gamers, please review in chat saying #PC Master Race.
I've actually found myself playing more often on my PC now than my console. If I had a Series X and a PS5, that'd probably not be the case, but no. Most of the time I get a better experience on my PC because like my One X is what I have for my last standing console. And yeah, if I can avoid playing on it, I will, because the experience is superior on my PC.
Yeah. I have both, and I just, whatever game I decide to play is what I kind of,
Yeah, I'm the same. I've got the Series X and the PC, and yeah, I flip between the two. I predominantly play on the Series X, but I am more so on the PC now. I just think because also they're cheap. Some of the games are a lot cheaper.
That's true, but I just need my
Considerably.
60 frames a second, and
Yeah.
the One X can't always deliver that, so it's weird going from 30 to 60. I did it a long time ago, and it makes it hard to play on a last gen console that can't output that, or that doesn't give you the option. You know what I mean? Downscale the resolution. Give me my 60 frames.
Yeah. The other thing that makes me bounce back and forth is storage space. Because of Game Pass, if it's available on both, I have to look at, okay, do I want to clear up space on my Series X, or do I just want to throw this on my PC? And 9 times out of 10, I'll just throw it on my PC.
Well, now with xCloud on your Series X, which will be coming, that will help that out.
Right.
I think that was a very clever move to get the xCloud ecosystem onto the Series X. I reckon that was predominantly to do with the storage. They realised very quickly it's the storage systems is going to be a big problem for a lot of people, and people are going to start moaning quite quickly if we can't get a variable supply for the SSDs. So to have a xCloud now be just almost stream it directly from your console without having to worry about storage. Maybe
But again,
60 frames a second.
Yeah, I don't think. The thing is, though, with the console, I don't know if that's my mindset. I don't actually think that way with the xCloud at all. I don't think that. I play Tetris with games from a hard drive across to the internal hard drive so I can play it. Because it says, you need to move this over to the internal to play it. So I'm constantly moving bits about, and I've decided now just to delete COD completely, because that just takes up pretty much 3/4 of the hard drive. But if I was to think about xCloud, what I'd first do is go on my PC and log in and do it through my PC. I wouldn't go.
Exactly.
I'm still at that mentality of I can't think about using an xCloud, which is a streaming service, through a console that is there to predominantly play the games and you have on there. So yeah,
it's going to actually give you a better experience than xCloud is anyway.
Yeah,
at least to the new consoles, maybe not so much on, especially the original VCR. You definitely want to maybe check out xCloud on that console, but I think Sony knocked it out of the park. I honestly loved that show. It makes me wish I had a PS5 more than anything has to this point. And their announcement of the Uncharted shit coming to PC is cool, which means I can finally dive into that series. But
me too.
I was really hoping for a God of War 2018 announcement for PC, and that's just not. Apparently, they're not quite ready to do that.
No,
but
it's probably
they showed a lot of good shit.
It's probably on the list for Nexus to do after that. I think you'll find it will be coming soon, because I think that's why they acquired Nexus to port games over. So I think once this Uncharted is out, they might think about doing it, maybe.
Yeah, and I called that they were gonna. I tried to make my boldest prediction, if you will, was literally God of War 2018 coming to PC, because I think that would have been huge, followed up by the trailer for Ragnarok or something. But that didn't happen, and it bummed me out.
Can you imagine the heads exploding if they would have said God of War was coming to PC?
Oh yeah, heads exploding from excitement, and heads exploding from, oh my god, my plastic box doesn't have that exclusive.
Sheer rage, just sheer rage.
Oh, it would have been so bad, and I would have capitalized on that shit. Believe me,
I'm worried that you're teeing up Stubbs to press play on his video again. Oh my god!
The biggest waste of time from that show, the only waste of time in that show, was Grand Theft Auto 5.
Oh God.
Oh,
They
yeah.
need to let that fucking game die. Let it take it out back, put it down, move on. For fuck's sake! If I have to
that-
see
You know
that
that's
pile
gonna
of
be
shit
in-
in another show, I swear to God.
2038.
They are milking that
it's
cow just for
GTA
dust
5
now.
with better graphics.
Yeah.
Again,
Yeah, not again. No, not again.
the
I bought it
quarterly
twice, not
release.
again.
They're just going to re-release it every quarter now for an extra
I'm
couple
sorry.
of
I'm
dollars.
not rebuying that game again. I'm not doing
Yeah,
it.
a friend bought it for me, and it is if a digital game could collect dust, this would have the most dust on it. I never fucking even loaded it up because I was sick of the game before even playing the fucking game. Like, my friend bought it for me years after it released. Like, dude, you gotta come check out this like role playing server we got. I'm like, no, I'm all right, thanks. Thanks for the game. I promise I'll play with you next weekend, and next weekend never came. So
this is quite funny. Off the Grand Theft Auto trailer, official PlayStation 1, for this new, whatever you call it, remaster. It's the ratio: 27,000 likes to 155,000 dislikes.
yep.
If I don't
There's a
say
reason
no,
for that.
exactly.
Yeah,
Oh.
like that cow's been milked to death. It's giving no more milk. It really is.
What's funny is the director of that is saying, they don't need Game Pass for big AAA games, and I'm like, dude, you haven't released a new game in 10 years. What the hell are you talking about?
You know it's bad when Pegacorn Nation like comes at you for this shit. So move on. GTA 5 should be dead by now. For fuck's sake. Sorry.
Yeah.
I do want to play the remaster of Vice City if it's actually remastered. If it's like this, I love Alan Wake. That was another thing that we saw. I'm a huge Alan Wake fan, and I was extremely disappointed in the lack of remaster. Like,
it looks the same, doesn't it, dude? It just looks exactly this. It looks like the same game.
So I haven't played it, so I was like, oh, it's gonna be great. I'll be able to play it at,
it'll be good for
really
you.
top-notch graphics. And also, it's like, now you're telling me, it's like, well, it's a little bit better, but it's not that much better. I'm like, oh crap.
Just go and play.
I'll go play it on my 360.
Yeah, you still got a 360 removable.
It's
Just go and get a copy of that.
It's backwards compatible. It's backwards compatible.
That's true,
Play
you
it,
can
play it
on
now.
the
Yeah,
One
you can
X.
play. You can play it on your
Well,
One
I was
X
like,
or
I'll wait for
Series
the
X.
remaster.
you
I'll
go.
play it on the remaster. I'll have all the very fresh right now. I'll have everything there. I'll have it all nice and But now you're telling me it's like, well, actually, it just looks like a little shinier buff version of it. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like if you were to play it at a significantly higher resolution, like if you were to play the original on your PC and you tossed in some lighting effects and maybe some. I don't even remember. They didn't say, like, I read it. I'm not gonna look it up, but the details into what they did to it are not impressive, like remotely. But the only good thing coming out of this is that if it gets enough traction, we might see a proper sequel, and that I'm very stoked about.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. Yeah. The American Nightmare one was the DLC stuff was very, very good. It was sort of a sequel, wasn't
but
it?
Short.
But it wasn't, but a very short. It was just a DLC that they sold as a separate game.
It was almost
very
like a
good,
fan
but-
service. It seemed, what
Yeah.
I mean.
Exactly, yeah, because it was exactly that. It was very good, but it wasn't number 2.
No.
And I'm with you, brother. I want number 2.
Yep, it's time. It's well beyond time for that to happen. Just like Dead Space, but its remaster is like a full-blown remake. It's
it's a remake.
It's like when they took the Resident Evil games, like Capcom redid those. It's like that, but like it melted my brain. That's my favorite horror series of all time, and I hated 3 for the longest time until I fired it back up with Leo not too terribly long ago. And it's a fun game. I will give it that, but it's not the same as the first 2. It should be its own thing. But the remake of that game, it's fucking beautiful what they have so far.
Well,
And
to be honest,
that
you know what
will
it
come
reminds
back.
me? The Dead Space 3 reminded me of a version of Aliens versus Alien. You know, you had the horror
Oh,
of the
yeah.
first kind of thing, and then you had the action of the second one. And it's
Yeah, and
like,
you
yeah,
couldn't
we'll make,
play it
we'll
by
make
yourself.
a co-op action.
Well, you could play it by yourself, but there's like parts of the game you can't access unless you're playing co-op. That shit's bullshit.
Yeah.
That game should die too. I'm just saying. Anyways,
It'll be interesting to see
PlayStation
what it
event was
does.
awesome. I loved it. It had me hyped for a PlayStation 5, and I don't even know when the hell I'll be able to get either of the next gen consoles. If Sony would just jump fully on the PC bandwagon, I wouldn't have to do that.
Well, see, the good news is, Husk, and a lot of those games that you're hyped for aren't coming out for a couple of years, so you got time to line up that PS.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yes, with the Sony shows, they do a great job of saying this game's coming and never giving a estimated date. I mean, was it the original God of War that was the first advertising? It was 2 years down the line, and they never said anything. I'm sure it was back in the day, and I'm sure that it's going to be very similar now. It's going to be 22, 23 for half of those games, I think. End of 22, 23.
And so it should be. Let them have a little bit of time. Let them cook, because you know at the end of it what you're going to get. You know,
Exactly.
and people will wait.
Like, you have to wait for these games. It's like,
Well,
I mean,
I think the difference
e-
is
e-
with
even
Xbox,
even
we know
even
what's coming
Starfield,
through the end of
not
next
coming.
year. We know. Yeah, we know.
It
what's
ain't coming,
through the
mate.
end of next year.
Starfield's
What?
probably not coming. No way.
Well, what are you basing that on, dude? You've always been down on Starfield. You're always so negative about it. It's like, what are you basing that on?
Yeah, but so far, what have they delivered on time? Nothing. Recently.
Who, Bethesda? What are you kidding? Dude. Seriously, what are you smoking?
You can't presume it's going to come out just because they say it's going to come out.
Well, you can't presume it's not just because you think it's not.
Well, the thing is with Bethesda and Starfield and I almost said Ron Howard, Todd Howard himself. I almost said Ron Howard for some reason. It was Todd Howard. He does not reveal a game at all until it's almost ready. He's famous, he's renowned for doing that. That we wouldn't even know about it if it wasn't coming anytime soon. We wouldn't. It's just plain as simple as that. He's always done that, and he's always said, "I am not going to tell you anything until I think it's nearly ready." So,
Which is a good thing.
oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I have one more thing to say about the PlayStation event that probably made me the happiest out of everything. It had nothing to do with games. Well, I mean, it did, but it didn't have anything to do with trailers we saw or anything. There was zero bullshit. Jim popped on for literally a handful of seconds, said some shit, and we saw fucking games. And then they saved all the talky nonsense, which actually wasn't even that much. Like it was a different way of presenting all of it at the end of the show, and I loved that, and I feel like that should be how every fucking game show should go. You know what I mean? Like, you don't interrupt any segments to talk to somebody for 20 minutes. You're going to turn people off. That's how that's just the truth of the matter.
Well,
Absolutely.
but the flip side of that is, from a production standpoint is, if you save all the talky to the end, people are going to flip it off anyway. They may as well watch all the videos on YouTube.
Well, yeah, but they're going to flip it off anyway if you put it in the beginning, or you break up your
Well,
momentum
not
in the
not
middle of the show.
necessarily, Not necessarily. I mean, you know.
I mean,
I
I'll
guess
go
it
back
just
and
depends on
watch the
what kind of show you're
replay
looking
and
for.
skim it. I'll do that, or go
Yeah.
find, a compilation of all. That's just me. I like that kind of stuff, and I'll stick around. But I get what you're saying. Well, maybe it would turn off some people. But at the same time, like, you go and you get people hyped up showing all this shit, and then all of a sudden you squash it You're like, here, listen to this guy talk for 10 minutes. It's like, what the
So
fuck did you
basically,
just do?
all you want is a half-hour of trailers with no real information. I mean, if that's what
No,
you
I want the information, but I don't want it when they're in the middle of showing these trailers and getting me excited. Like, you lose your momentum. Like, there's a reason why TikTok is overtaking YouTube, and it's because people's attention spans are horseshit. Like previous generations to us, they don't have the patience for this shit. I'm just saying, it's a lot of them just don't.
Yeah, I think Husk has got a point there, because if you just look at it from a viewership point of view, if you look at the individual trailers, for those that didn't catch the show, the three main games, God of War, Spider-Man, Wolverine, and Gran Turismo, have got a combined view of about 25 million or 30 million views. But if you look at the small post-show interaction between Corey, the director of God of, sorry, I forget his name, and the guy that was hosting it, that video has only got 50,000 views. So it shows you that Husk has a point in terms of what people are more interested in watching and observing versus listening to any kind of developer input. And look, I subscribe to the no clip videos, and they do amazing documentaries, but you can see that versus how many units the game sold, how many trailer views there've been, there's only a fraction or a low single percentile number of people that actually are interested in what the developer's got to say. I'm not saying that's good or bad. It's just that's what the numbers translate, right? When you want to break them down and ascertain what really is going on, right?
But also that translates into social media as well. If you've got a very quick fire trailer around that gets you hyped, I can guarantee you the moment those trailers are stopped, a good chunk of those people are on social media talking about it for the next 3 or 4 hours. If you've got a bit of a break where you're talking about the game a little bit too much in depth, people are probably gonna diss it and start messing around with that.
Really a generational thing, because I like the in-depth stuff. I like the information.
But you got to remember, everything's so much more about pacing now, and it's like your pacing is a gearbox, and you throw a wrench in it like that.
I don't want just the splash.
I want the info. I agree with you 100%.
Maybe more fashionable selection.
I think what I'm seeing here is that if you're having your main course, you don't want your dessert interfering, right? You want to have your main course, and if you fail at the dessert, you can have it afterwards, but segment it out, right? Don't make it two things trying to digest two things at the same time.
Good analogy.
What a good analogy that is, yeah.
I'm hungry.
Where's Tushi with his mac and cheese?
What's funny to me is people who don't stay for dessert, they miss so much, and then they end up asking.
I agree with you, Paul. There's a wealth of there's a wealth of knowledge in the making of videos. I mean, I watched the Sony ones, the making of Uncharted, the making of God of War 2018, which is incredible. I watched the no clip documentaries, but but as I say, I can only sort of look
I can understand it, but I think people are missing out by growing into this ADHD mentality that they have for watching stuff.
Well, Twitter would probably not have as many as removable saying wouldn't have.
Yeah.
If people did actually watch and observe and actually digest and understand and reflect on what they were actually viewing, maybe they wouldn't spend so much time on Twitter asking the questions that are answered in the videos that have been presented to you in the first place.
Which I see a lot of.
Totally get what you're saying. Stubbs, are you still awake?
Yeah, I'm still here.
What are your thoughts, fucker, you quiet bastard?
What are we on about?
You are the one who asked the topic.
PlayStation show, that's it. Yeah, I thought it was a good show. Showed off some really, really good games. I mean, they're obviously aiming for the top tier games, the bigger budget games, and that's what they're focusing in on now. But there was some smaller games there, like there was a game called Project Eve, that was good. Tiny Tina's Wonderland, that looked good as well. There was Forspoken, I like the look of that. Ghostwire Tokyo is another good one. I've seen Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy before, but that looked good. I don't know how to say this one. It looked like an indie game. Tintia. I don't know how you say it.
Yeah, that did look very good.
Tintia. However you say it, that looked very good. I'm probably saying it wrong. I am.
I mean, not every single game appealed to me, but I think that, to be fair, there was something for everybody.
Oh, big time.
Plus, obviously, the Marvel games look really good, and the God of War Ragnarok. Hopefully, by the time I get a PS5, I've completed Spider-Man.
At least one game.
Okay, I'm betting
Yes.
$500 that he
At least
hasn't.
one game.
Take the bet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a sucker bet. I'm not taking that bet. No.
Yeah.
You want to hear something fucking stupid? You want to know why I want God of War 2018 on PC so bad?
Mod it.
I sold my PS4 before it released.
Ooh.
Yeah, like right before it released, and yeah.
It's really interesting, Husk, because I've got
to,
a
actually.
PS4 Pro, but the disc drive's gone on it, and a friend of mine just messaged me this morning, and his PS4's gone as well, and I was just wondering, is there a conspiracy going on?
They're slightly breaking all the PS4 so you're pushed into by the PS5.
Well,
Forspoken.
there's no way to say not. Go ahead.
Her dog.
Sorry.
Someone's asking, is that exclusive? The Forspoken. I don't.
Forspoken is one of the ones that was exclusive. They did a very clever job on the show of showing, like you mentioned, Tiny Tina. That's obviously it's cross-platform. A fair few of them are also cross-platform. They did an awfully good show or an awfully good job. Sorry, of not saying anything was an exclusive.
Or not.
I think Dragon.
Yeah, they didn't.
I think they didn't mention it. I think Dragon Wolf mentioned it in the chat earlier, which means most of the people that saw that just assume, it's PlayStation 5 only or PlayStation only, and in fact, a lot of those are
time.
Yeah, multi-platforms. Yeah,
Or yeah,
all times. Yeah.
They can't be blamed that for lying because they didn't say anything.
Dragon Wolf thought Forspoken is timed. I thought Forspoken was one of the few that is PlayStation only, but I could be wrong.
Project Eve is too, right? It's PlayStation only, correct? That's exclusive.
I think so.
I thought that looked pretty fucking cool. I know people are going ape shit because she's got skin tight suit on and she's hot or whatever. So
it's basically Bayonetta in a
Pong Soul saying that Forspoken is a
2 year.
time.
Yeah, might as well be.
There you go.
Forspoken's actually on the Square Enix site. It says PS5 and PC.
Okay.
It still counts as exclusive as long as it's not on your competing platforms, because consoles
exactly. It's a console exclusive.
Yes, console exclusive, which you can still, say is exclusive, I guess.
Claim.
Yeah.
Nowadays they have to stay console exclusive. They really shy. I mean, Xbox kind of, because when Xbox does, they have to make that because you can be exclusive and still be on xCloud, Xbox, and PC, and you're still exclusive to the Xbox
platform
ecosystem. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And remember, Sony took a lot of heat last year for their big show when they kept saying exclusive. Well, it turned out 90% of it wasn't.
Yeah.
So I think they're learning to watch how they word things in their shows now.
I'll say this:
pouring over these trailers very carefully now, aren't they?
Yes.
They're really, really analysing everything. I mean, you're getting Digital Foundry do analytics now on trailers. Is this going to be this sort of frame rate for the next game? Well, let's have a look at this trailer, and it's like.
I
don't watch any of that stuff.
I haven't watched anything on Digital Foundry in a while because
I don't watch any of them. Any kind of analytic videos on stuff. I don't.
No, I don't watch The
problem with these things that they dissect. If you take a flower and you dissect it, right? You take the petals apart, you take the stem apart. What you're doing is just taking away the beauty of what the flower was in the first place, right? It's just pieces that just look horrid. So if you you can enjoy a game whether it's running at, I mean, I played games that run at 28 or 30. I couldn't really tell the difference. I was just so immersed with how good the game was. It really didn't make any difference to me. Of course, going from 30 to 60, I can really see the difference. And I've got a Series X that allows me to do that, right? And most of the games I'm playing at the moment are multi-format or in Game Pass. Actually,
I can tell you now.
Sorry, go on.
That there is one game I think everybody in the panel wants, and it's that Wukong.
That looks very good. That does, because I remember when people first seen that and they said, "Oh, that won't see the light of day," but by the sounds of it, it will be released.
That
was the
looks
release date?
amazing.
What's the release date?
They haven't given a release date for it. No, they haven't. I thought it was just.
I either read in a Chinese paper or something. It's 2 years away. But what? And we talked about this on Boom Show actually. And I was talking about the influences on the game and the character designs and the temples and the gods or the deities that are woven into all the Chinese sort of folklore and so on and so forth. But what was far more impressive to me was the sheer number of assets on screen and the sheer level of, because that's not the only trailer, right? There's one before that as well which showed different bosses and so on and so forth. But it was really impressive to see how much they were actually showing, considering the game is still 2 years away, because they actually said, I think, below the trailer in the description on their site that it's scheduled for 2023.
Yeah, that's right. Its initial release date is 2023.
What was it called?
My goodness.
Black Myth, Wukong.
I found somebody, Mouse Mayhem is someone else who actually watches a trailer and actually reads as well. There's two
Yes.
Let the trend begin.
But didn't the actual director say he wasn't happy with some of it because he's like, the frame rate is awful? He was even this is how he was specifically wanted. He's like, he still wasn't happy with what was given out.
I think that removal has got to do with two things. Is one is if the game's that far away, there's optimization, and on the other side of the coin is whether they're working on UE4 and translating it onto UE5, and UE5 still isn't released as a fully fledged engine, right? It's still in beta, right? If I'm not mistaken. So those things are, they've got, well, assuming it's in 2023, let's assume it's this time in 2023. It's 2 years away, so I'm sure they've got plenty of time to improve things, right? Hopefully, anyway.
But it still looked amazing. I mean, it was like, wow. It was like almost like a breath of fresh air. That's what got me. It was just like, if that, that was just like, that really, all of it hit every mark. And it's very rare you see a game like that, where it's like, wow. I was trying hard to find something I disliked about it, but I couldn't.
You see, removable, right? I know a lot of people don't know this, but China has some of the best programmers anywhere in the world right now. Not just in video games, but in other places. In terms of gameplay programming, I'm not too sure. But 20 years ago, remember, EA and Ubisoft went to China, set up studios purely for outsourcing all of the heavy lifting, right? And they educated, at least, one, if not two generations of people that wanted to get into the industry in terms of how to create assets, how to create pipelines, how to create builds of games, right? And now they're benefiting from that, right? In terms of a business and in terms of a country, and obviously on the back of what Tencent and other companies are trying to do over there. Right? I'll just be quiet now.
That makes complete sense.
Sorry,
it does. Yeah.
It does.
It's gone quiet.
Oh yeah, Rainbow Six Extraction was a fucking stupid waste of time too. Sorry.
I couldn't see the
Yeah, you're right,
being
you're
on
right,
there. Really, I don't know why it was there.
And
advert.
And I was just going to say, sorry, Stubbs, and the same thing you'll see happening in places like Singapore as well.
And Korea, isn't it? Korea's also coming in a little bit.
The benefit that China has, right, because a lot of people think, oh, who's investing and people should buy it. It's not, because you have to understand, right, is that in China, that a lot of these things that you're seeing here, on the face of it, you're seeing a great game, a new studio, a lot of it's state funded via grants and so on and so forth, because that's the agenda that they want to push right now.
Is it very similar to how it's done in Poland?
No, it's
Okay.
Poland studios are not state funded. They're given grants and tax rebates.
Tax rebate.
A bit like in the trend of studios opening up in Quebec and Montreal, where I think up to Ubisoft. I remember there was a report that came out. You may still be able to find it online, but I was shocked to see that I think it was 32%, up to 32%, can be recouped of your development costs after the game's released, of course, right? And after the game's release, in terms of tax credits and grants and all that, just a mixture, a combination
That's
of
a
them.
phenomenal amount of money.
Why do you think EA and Ubisoft opened up studios there 10, 15 years ago? You know, why do you think that Jade Raymond has moved out of California and has gone back there to set up Haven? Because obviously Sony want to benefit from that as well, and they'll have more money to do more things with, right? If you set up a studio there. So, and that's the benefit of it, right? And that's why you have studios in Canada, and that's how Poland is operated to a degree. And, and you have to look at it. Animated Evil is that, unlike the West, you know, game studios or games or anything that, whether it's the Polish national football team or whether it's their game studio, they become a linchpin or a draw, right, for or a national icon for the country, especially when you consider Poland came out of communism not that long ago, right? The beginning of 1990, right?
They're very ferocious of their freedom now.
For that country, yeah. I mean, they're extremely subjugated.
They are, yeah.
And, I mean, if you look at Europe, Europe was subjugated by religion, by the Catholic or the Christian religion for the whole of Europe was, right? Up until about 500 years ago. And you still see the remnants of that still continuing, right? People still worshiping just one book and arguing between themselves whose invisible friends are more powerful. Anyway, I don't want to go off topic completely, but then if you look at China, what I mean by state-funded,
communism.
what I'm saying is that it's government initiative, because where they were investing heavily into, there was getting people to, during the 90s, they were getting people to invest heavily into manufacturing. So what they were saying to people is that, look, manufacture product for the West, we'll give you this land, right? And the land, that 10, 15 years on, what they were doing, the reason why they were able to produce headphones, your joypads or your t-shirts, or because the factories weren't making any money off the product. What they were doing is that they were working off the potentiality of the land and how that would prosper and how that would gain value. And that's how you got the middle class becoming, that's why you see so many millionaires. I think China has more millionaires per year than anywhere else in the world right now, is because of the initiatives that the government took in 1990. And you know, people say like places like England are heavily populated and so on and so forth. They're not. It's just that we're all congregated or amassed in very specific cities. The actual land mass of England, only 7% is actually built upon. So there's plenty of room for everybody. It's just that we're not taught this, we're not educated within this, and a lot of these things are hidden away from us, and we wonder why things are going wrong. Anyway, I really am deviating. It's that coffee up bloody well. But, I'm going to just stop there, right? You just have an eject button for me, Mr. Stubbs.
Quick, put a cup of tea on. I draw him away.
Yeah. Has anyone got any more thoughts on the subject?
No, but I'm going to let you know that I need to step away for a couple minutes. I'll be back as fast as I can.
I might have if you give me a minute.
Yeah, I can imagine you have. Any more thoughts, Husk? Anyone on this?
Nope. No, we haven't discussed.
Yep. I'm not gonna touch where VJ just went. We'll be here all day because
talking about manginas again.
More or less. You said China, like that. They're just. Oh god damn! I feel so bad for the.
Let me explain it to you this.
Some generations that live there now, like they're making some really fucked up mandates and decisions. Like it's.
You see,
I don't want to talk about it. Like I don't.
No,
it's gone political.
Let me put it to this way: China, the current regime, the current party in power, are what they're trying to do is take China back to what it was 20, 25 years ago, and people are not happy about it, but the opposing parties can't do anything about it, and the people and the companies like Jack Ma, who owned Alibaba, who got a slap on the wrist for speaking out and got his company taken away from him, and I was mentioning to Removable Sanity, right, that if you look at Tencent, in the matter of 6 months they've had to give the government, and it's being praised as a commercial move that they're a company of the people. No, it's not. The government have actually forced them to donate back to the government for in terms of economical equality. They've donated back $16 billion back to the government. And what the government's trying to do is that the companies that actually support, this is a political move really, is that the companies that are trying to support the opposing government, or still communist, right, that want to take the country forward rather than backwards, the companies that will support them with donations, is it, or something like that, that you have over political donations, they're slapping all those companies so that they're relatively powerless to help aid opposing governments to come back into power. And normally the Chinese government, you would do like America, right? If you're voted in as president, you have a term, is it 4 or 5 years, something like that? And what this guy did when he came into power, he actually revoked that part of the government constitution and made it so that he can stay in power in perpetuity. So that's the sort of thing that's going on over there in China, and people are not realizing it, and it's going to have a massive effect. It's already a massive effect, and it's already had a massive effect on no pun intended.
Like they're trying to regulate take-home salaries, like.
Yep.
Like they're putting a cap. It's like a fucking football team salary cap. Like, what the fuck, dude? Like,
there's also a
what are
social
you
credit
doing?
score over there. There's a social credit also over there. If you
you
have a wrong thing or a wrong element.
Let me put it this way. If you really want to understand what's going on in China, which will surprise you and probably worry you even more, is that now the current government, and they're taking, and I said to you, they're taking the country back 20, 25 years. They have stopped private tuition for all children, and even though the people can afford it and some can't, and they are also banning now or stopping schools from teaching English.
Holy shit.
So there's a lot more going on.
They're rewinding farther than 20 years then. Like they're Jesus.
And the funny thing is that I don't know if you know this, but Sung Hyun-min, the guy who runs North Korea, he actually China offered him the vaccine for COVID. He's so nervous he refused it for his country and his people.
Wow.
That says something, doesn't it?
It just shows you where I spend my time, right, looking. So I'll just right now.
I don't know how as a human you couldn't just feel this like huge, immense amount of guilt, knowing that you are quite literally controlling the steps of fucking other humans that you don't even know. Yep. Like, how do you fucking live like that?
It's narcissism.
It's fucking disgusting. I'm sorry, it's fucking disgusting. But that's why I don't want to talk about it. Move. Next topic!
Stop it quick!
Hurry, Steps, wake up.
Change.
I will. This video will be deleted tomorrow. The Chinese government removed it.
Give him the silver burst salute. Let's do that. There you go.
More than 90 minutes of gameplay.
Speaking of which, you have a silver burst salute that tunes into your show every week. I noticed.
Who?
Not like you always, well, you have two. It's probably because I'm being a loud, obnoxious piece of shit. But you instantly get a thumbs down, like right when, like shortly after your show starts. Just like,
oh no, that was me.
Oh, that was you. Oh, you're the piece of shit. Oh, you started.
To turn it off. Thanks for reminding me. That was because he'd pressed play and we watched your video and he hadn't actually pressed go live.
I
did it as a joke.
Oh, so no, the internet didn't see it.
Oh,
yeah, you guys saw it.
Yeah, we did it twice.
No, we played it again.
Oh, and they did
it was so good we watched it twice before.
Tried again and then it killed it dead. So he pushed a button on his headset or something. That's okay. That makes sense.
So
that's his.
Don't worry. The internet saw it. The internet saw it. We had to go for it twice. It's good. It's a good video. I like it.
Yeah.
So good. I watched it twice.
Downs. I'm going to take that off now. There's only two. Put it back. There you go.
What a shit fuck.
But anyway, it's been a good show.
My bad.
Full of gaming.
Pong, there may or may not be a goat
China,
under that table. I don't know.
All sorts. Life, everything. Yes. But yes, thank you for coming on, Mass Mayhem. I appreciate that.
Thanks for having me on.
It's been too long, so we'll have to get you back on sooner rather than later.
I don't think I've ever been on a show with these fuckers, either of them.
Actually, no.
Or actually,
we have been on a show together.
You? Yeah, let's say no. Well, maybe. I wasn't I'm not going to say no. Yeah, we're not
No,
going to talk
that's
about it.
ex-hamster. No.
Secrets.
Yeah, we've been on a show together. I think we were on this one, weren't we? And I can't remember the other one.
As I say,
We've done a couple
maybe
of
twice.
a long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't. I don't think you had a cam on.
No, I didn't.
Okay, that makes sense. But Animated Evil, I haven't been on with him yet, or VJ.
No, we have never done a show together. We've been in parties and stuff together before, but never on a show.
Never on a show.
Yeah, well, Husk is the one that beat me to interviewing Colt Eastwood. He is.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yes, you bugger.
That one.
Oh, Pong says, "Is there a goat in that
forever.
cage behind you?"
Oh, I already answered him.
Oh, did you?
Well, I mean, I don't know if you guys heard me. I told him, I was like, I don't know if there's a goat under there or not. I don't run this basement. It's Harry and Rex do their own shit down here.
He is not willing to confirm nor deny any goat business whatsoever.
I'm not looking under that sheet. That's not happening. I don't know what
Anyway.
those fuckers do down here when I'm not here. So.
But anyway, thanks for coming on, Mass Mayhem. Do you want to plug your podcast LOD or your Twitch streams?
Yeah, you can find me on the LOD Perspective. We have a group on FaceAche. You can find us on FaceAche, the LOD Perspective, and on Anchor. We do our podcast at the moment, as and when, but it should be weekly. We'll be coming back to weekly. And also, you can watch me be a bit of an idiot and with my buffoonery on Twitch, and I stream on a Wednesday and a Sunday at the moment, playing all sorts of games. So mainly Lego at the moment for some reason. I do like my Lego games, and that's it. That's where you can find me.
Oh, thanks.
And thanks for having us on, Stubbsy.
Yeah, it's been good. It has.
Oh, does this work on here? Hold on, I want to see. Can you guys hear this?
I'm one of the clever people.
Could you hear that at all?
Yeah, well, I heard it. Yeah.
Now, if you go on to LOD Perspective, he's got a section, and that's the actual sound clip for it.
So if anyone wants to ask a question on the LOD, you can go over to Anchor and leave a message. But we do it in the I'm one of the clever people section, which is
it's actually been a long time because I've actually asked a question. A long time. Yeah. So I might have to record one on Anchor.
That clip is awesome.
It's a fantastic clip, isn't it?
But actually, the clip can be explained because Husk is responsible for that clip.
Yes.
It was off Husk's show when he interviewed me, and I was telling him, about the Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, the deal I got. I'm one of the clever people. I went.
I'm one of the clever people.
That's so good. Oh, that makes me happy. Oh, fuck.
And now it's become a thing in our podcast. Anyone asks a question, it's I'm one of the clever people section.
What the fuck?
But anyway, Husk, thanks for coming on. You want to tell people where they can find you?
Thanks for having me, dude. I wish I could be here more often. I would be on this show every week if you let me, if my job allowed it. You can find me later tonight, literally an hour from now, over on Gaming Beyond the Box, and we do random shit throughout the week. Find me at ACS_Husk everywhere, and don't forget to hit the like button on your way out. If you haven't yet, stop being a shit fuck. Push it.
Yeah.
Amen.
Thanks, Husk.
Share it with your friends.
And Removable Sanity. Thanks for coming on.
No, thank you again for having me on, and it's great to have Masked Mayhem. And obviously, ACS Husk. I'm always a fan of ACS Husk. He knows that. I have a little starry eyes and giggly when he comes on board. But of course, thank you to everybody else who's on the panel. Obviously, Cerebral, Animated, VJ. Me and VJ get on so well. And of course, yourself. Much appreciated, and thank you for again. Just let me ramble on.
Do you want to plug your stuff? I thought you could automatically do that.
Oh, God, these days. Yeah. My brain's gone. Apologies. You can find me on Minds, YouTube, and Twitter, and Xbox under Removable Sanity. There you go.
Thanks for coming on, Removable. Cerebral Paul, are you there, mate?
He's not come back yet.
He's not come back.
He's munching.
Where are we now?
Happy
Animated
birthday.
Animated
1 year.
Evil. Thanks for coming on.
No, thank you for having me week in and week out on your show, dude. It's an absolute pleasure, as always. Awesome to work with Masked Mayhem and Husk as guests today. Again, Removal Sanity, VJ, Cerebral. As always, a pleasure for you guys. Nice and simple. I'm not going to give a rundown of all the things I'm involved with because it'll take quite a while. I'm a busy boy. You can find me on Twitter is the best place to see what I'm up to. Animated_evil, and I'm also on Twitch as well, Animated Evil 857. Oh, yes,
I have to
indeed.
drop you a follow.
And I just hit affiliate as well, so
Congratulations.
all good. And that's me, basically.
VJ, thanks for coming on again.
Yeah, thanks for having me on Stubbs Gaming, Mr. Stubson, and congratulations again on your 1 year anniversary. And I'll put together a load of more crap to talk about next week.
No, it's good to have you on. Do you want to tell people where they can find you? Or I know you
not
don't
really.
like doing that.
Not really. I'm on Boom Show tomorrow.
It'll be good.
You can find him on the Twitterverse somewhere, I'm sure.
You
He's
can.
got to
He's
type the
very
right
hidden,
letters
though. He's
in the
very
search.
hidden.
Viewpoint
Yeah.
at Viewpoint Gaming on Twitter, and on the Xbox.
Yeah, not
Factor
VJ.
podcast. Yes, because Removal does this a lot. He tags at VJ, and some other guy goes.
It's awesome.
A lot of the time,
It's
I
not
think
me.
you've got the wrong person.
It's great.
But I'll be on Boom Show tomorrow. It should be a good show. So yeah, if you want to
Oh,
find
his
me,
shows are always good.
yeah, I'll chat some more.
Well, we all got
nonsense
shout
tomorrow.
out last week, but VJ gave us all a shout out. Then Boom agreed. He did last week. But yeah, so Cerebral, are you back? No. So if
Maybe
you wanna
next
follow
time I'm
Cere-
on here, I just start talking like all you guys.
So if you want to find
Jolly good share.
Cerebral,
What?
all these links are in the description, as is everyone else's, and you can follow him there. But thanks for joining us for our first anniversary of the show. 1 year doing midweek gaming. There will be more episodes, but it hasn't happened every week. We've had little breaks here and there.
I took off early from work for this. True story.
Did.
I
And you were
did.
still
I
late.
skipped lunch and I went in early, so I was gonna get off early anyway. And I was like, fuck it, I'll skip lunch. And Stubbs said, you know what? Yes, you can be on here and fuck up everything. And here we are.
No,
Boom.
It's been a pleasure, sir. It really has. You've got to work. You've got to
I
work.
literally.
You've got to work on the accent though if you're going to be English.
Yeah, I
Unfortunately,
know.
Yeah.
it's a little bit of work.
Aussie Husk.
It's bad. A lot of the times when I try to do any accent, it all blurs together, and I end up being this Australian, English, Irish person. None of it sounds right. Like it bounces back and forth, and it's probably because I've drank too many beers already. That's possible.
No such
You'll
thing.
see some accents in Fireside soon that are normal-ish.
Hey, I'm
Not.
back.
We'll say sober. We'll say sober accents.
Paul's back.
Thanks for coming on. Oh,
I
he's
don't
back.
know if I've ever been- I don't know if I've ever been at a party with you, Sober Husk.
It's a good question.
Okay.
See that croc over there? Sneak out behind her. Shove my thumb in her butthole. That'll really piss her off.
Thanks for coming
Anyway.
on, Paul.
Yep, sorry about that. Had to go.
We've got a
Had to
successor.
go be sick. Had to go be sick for a minute, and I'm back.
Oh,
So,
I was going to say we've got a successor to Paul Hogan.
yeah, you can find me all over the place. Tomorrow you can find me on 4GQ TV. Friday and Saturday, of course, community game night. And the rest of the week, follow me on Twitter, CerebralPaul1. That's the best way to do it, because I'm on a lot of stuff. And Husk, seriously,
Wow.
we need to get together more often. You need to be able to do some gaming after
Community
dark or
game
whatever.
nights and some gaming after darks. I know. I bet it sucks. Trust me.
Because for some reason, Wilmy won't have me back on the show. I don't know what I did. No, I'm kidding. I don't. Because you guys were my first. You were there when I got my cherry popped. as it
Yes,
were.
yes.
So, and
Yep.
I even know the
Wow.
date. Yeah, and I appreciate that so much, or I wouldn't be here today, probably. So there you go.
It's fucking awesome. Makes me happy. Just hearing it. Like that was my cherry
Yeah.
popped on that show too. Weird.
What was that? Your first show? No.
No, second, but it was my
Yeah.
first live one. So
Yeah, we were. Yeah, it was fun to be there for the official fork slap. That's when Fork got slapped by his wife on screen.
Oh, that was incredible. That show.
yeah,
It
Dude,
was a
Oh,
good
it's so
show.
funny.
Tenor still won't approve that GIF. Like I can't
Did
get
you-
it in the
did-
GIF library to save my life. I've emailed.
Did you ever
Oh.
see this one, Mass Mayhem?
Nothing.
This
Yeah.
show. It was legit. It was not
Oh.
rigged. It was literally. You could tell it was. He did
Like-
not see it coming.
Like if you slow it down, you can see the fucking waves and like you're playing a boxing game. It's solid. Yeah.
It was good.
Oh, it was
And she
legendary.
caught his headset so it ended up really hurting him a little bit.
Yeah.
She caught his headset really good.
Yeah. She took the opportunity and ran with it.
Yeah, she was
Legit.
Like, oh,
Right,
I
the
can't-
fact that
You want me to slap you? Okay.
Okay.
he didn't get up and walk.
Fuck yeah, I'll do it.
He didn't get up and walk off. He just stayed. Carried on.
Do you see the? You can see the shock in his face a little bit. That like he was expecting it, but he wasn't expecting that. Like oh shit. Lesson
enjoyed-
learned.
Yeah, she enjoyed that way too much.
Yeah.
She
Anyway,
That's good shit.
I will leave.
Happy
I will
1
end-
year, buddy. Thanks for having
Yes,
me.
happy anniversary.
Yeah, happy anniversary. Well done, Stubbs.
Love you, bro. I do. You're the shit.
Right. We'll see you all next week. Same time. We will. So thanks for the chat. And I've lost my words.
We said
Is
same
it
time.
emotional for you, Stubbs?
I like
Yeah.
to look around.
Pokes
He
emotion.
Totally loses
Yeah.
track of where he's at. That's so much fun.
No, I was just saying. Stubbs said, "We'll see you same time next week." Yes, everyone's going to turn up at 2:10.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, thanks for coming out. People watching the show. Thanks for the guests and panel for coming on. It's been a good one. So see you next week. Bye.
Have fun.